Salute. How y'all doing? My name is DerrickCWilliams. In the year I was born, 1967, the Central Intelligence Agency came up with a phrase used to dissuade any and all opposition, questioning the clandestine operations, either foreign or domestic, of our governments, what we call today the deep state. And that term was called conspiracy theory. I will be putting a link for you to read that document in its entirety. This is a real document, and this document has taken on a life of its own, because anytime you question anything that goes counter to the mainstream narrative, people quote a conspiracy theorist, even though you can see these things in plain view. But most people wish to be willfully ignorant. The title of this presentation will be called Mass Casualty Incident, and I'm just one man in the comment section on YouTube. I have often referenced a teenager by the name of Laura Glass and her science project. Her science project was dealing with social distancing during a pandemic, or pandemic, I should say. And this science project has gone on to take on real world implications. We're going through it as we speak. And I want to introduce to you Mr. James Corbett of the Corbett Report. He's going to break it down for you in top-notch fashion, as only a grade A reporter can break it down for you. I'm just going to have the first couple of minutes of this presentation, and I will put the link in its entirety in the description box below. And again, as I said, I will put the link for the CIA memo to dissuade any and all opposition to our government on what they do by way of name calling and, disparaging someone with the name conspiracy theorist. Myself, DerrickCWilliams, I am a card carrying conspiracy theorist. All y'all take care. Greenville, Mississippi till I die.
This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. In 2006, a 15-year-old high school student from Albuquerque, New Mexico, won third place in the Intel Science and Engineering Fair for her project on slowing the spread of an infectious pathogen during a pandemic emergency. Using a computer simulation that she developed with the help of her father, she argued that in order to slow the spread of the disease, governments should implement school shutdowns, keep kids at home, and enforce social distancing. Incredibly, that third place high school science fair project can be tied directly to the lockdown policies being implemented by governments around the world. That father that she developed her computer simulation with was no average doting dad, but a senior researcher at Sandia National Laboratories who, at that time, was working on pandemic emergency response plans for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. His proposal to implement school shutdowns and, if need be, workplace shutdowns in the event of a pandemic emergency was developed, at least in part, in response to his daughter's high school project.
Damn.
Now, those advocating for lockdowns have seen the destruction and death that those policies have wrought this year, and we are living through that right now. Not only are people being deprived of their livelihoods and forced into grinding poverty as a direct shutdowns, but now the undeniable truth is that if you are advocating for lockdowns, you are advocating for some portion of the population to be consigned to death. This is no longer debatable. It is even openly admitted, although months too late, by the World Health Organization.
I want to say it again. We in the World Health Organization do not advocate lockdowns as a primary means of this virus. We may well have a doubling of world poverty by next year. We may well have at least a doubling of child malnutrition because children are not getting meals at school and their parents in poor families are not able to afford it. This is a terrible, ghastly global catastrophe, actually.
Imagine my shock.
We really do appeal to all world leaders. Stop using lockdown as your primary control method. Develop better systems for doing it. Work together. remember, lockdowns just have one consequence that you must never, ever belittle, and that is making poor people an awful lot poorer.
Really?
This is the point at which, no doubt, I'll be expected to produce the data to back up that lockdowns kill, even though that data will do precisely nothing to penetrate the consciousness of those who have already decided that they are moral high ground on the globe as prisoners inside their own homes. But persevere I will. I'll point, for example, to the letter signed by hundreds of doctors calling the lockdowns themselves a mass casualty incident and exhorting politicians to end the shutdowns. I'll point to the research that shows that thousands of people will die because of delays to cancer surgery treatments as a result of the medical shutdowns. I'll point to the research of the Well-Being Trust showing that 75,000 Americans are expected to die deaths of despair, including alcohol and drug misuse and suicide, this year alone as a result of the lockdowns. I'll point to the research of The Lancet showing that 265 million people are expected to be thrown into severe of these lockdowns. I will even point to the research showing 125,000 children are expected to die from malnutrition as a result of these lockdowns.